All righty. Hello, everybody. Sorry for that false start for those of you who got on there for a second. I don't know what happened. My computer just started resetting itself in the middle of it all. So you guys know every single one day there's always something with my computer. One of these days it won't be. But I am really excited this week. It's a little bit later than usual. Typically, I do my Midlife Mojo Mondays Midlife Mojo Mondays at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I apologize for the late night tonight. And next week is kind of probably be around the similar time as well. I've just had some unexpected things come up over the past couple of weeks that are just kind of out of my control. And they were right in the middle of my scheduled video. So I decided rather than just do a pre-recorded video, I would get on and do it live. So, and just do it at a later time, and figured for those of you who couldn't make it, that you could just watch on replay. So we have a lot of new people here in the group. I'm really excited. I haven't done my post yet, but we went over the 600 mark the past couple of days in this group. I'm so excited to be talking to so many new people. And my name, for those of you who don't know me, is Jill Lebofsky. I am the owner of Midlife Mojo. And my purpose is just to educate and support and just be a resource center for women over 40, a place of community for us just to get to know each other better and just to kind of share our journey together. So as I said, every Monday I do these videos live, usually at 2 p.m., scratch this past couple of weeks and coming up weeks, but typically at 2 p.m. And each week it's either an educational topic, or I do a demo, or I'll bring on someone to interview, but something to support you in your journey, whether it be intermittent fasting, essential oils, your menopause, empty nesting, your sexual relationships, whatever it may be, hot flashes, anything you can think about that kind of we all as midlife women deal with, we're going to talk about here. I also want to kind of get into some more things like personal development and, you know, what our hopes and dreams are and things like that. So you're going to see a lot of those topics kind of creeping in. And so as much as I love all the health stuff, I want to get some of that well-being stuff more in this group. So you're going to see, as this group continues to evolve, more and more of that as well. You probably saw my post yesterday on Sunday. Every Sunday, we just started doing this as of June 1st. Every week is a different theme in the group. And so every Sunday night, I announce the theme. And so this week's theme is girl power. And that's just kind of everything about being inspirational women out there, maybe the famous women or in your lives, role models, just being powerful in our, in our 50, 60, 70-dom. So forth. So fair warning, this is a topic I'm passionate about, so I got a lot to say, and I usually get going kind of, so we'll see how well I do. But I've got my little piece of paper here, hopefully to keep me on track, not to get too off, so keep you here forever. But this is just a topic that I think is so important. It's really, what Midlife Mojo is all about, is just this, girl power, but really woman power, really embracing our womanness. And when I wrote my first book, No Sweat, It's Just Menopause, Eating, Exercise, and Essential Oils, my friend Lori, who's also in this group, and she also was helping me with my editing, she said to me, why do we not celebrate this time of our lives? For a lot of times now these days, girls have period parties, but we don't do anything to celebrate the end of our period, this big new beginning in our life. She says we should need to have something like a Menopalooza. So I loved that word, Menopalooza, and it stuck with me for the past couple of years. And one of these days, I am going to host a Menopalooza, some kind of retreat for all of us. But to me, that kind of word, Menopalooza, it's kind of like that midlife mojo. It's just, it's celebrating the empowered women that we are and all the years and the roads that we've traveled. It's embracing where we are at this point and accepting and loving ourselves. And it's just being, just accepting that love and where we are with grace and with ease, and knowing that there's going to be ups and downs still ahead, but that, this is not the end of our road, and this can be the beginning for a lot of us. And then, of course, Menopalooza also means the end of no tampons, pads, which is always a good thing as well. So who would be up for a good weekend, like a Menopalooza one day? Does that sound like something fun you might like to do? Oh, hi, Valerie. Thank you for coming back on. I saw you on there earlier. I really do appreciate you coming back on with me. So, we often focus, on the downside of the estrogen decline as we get older. We get fixated on those things like hot flashes and low libidos and, things just not feeling well and our wrinkly skin, and as opposed to embracing this time. So that's what today is going to be all about. We're going to be talking about just how we can celebrate our, menopause. I'm going to talk a little bit about what that is and different ways just kind of around the world that they celebrate it and why we should celebrate it, what the benefits are of this time in our lives. And it may just help shift things a little bit for us. So first, I want to just quickly go over the stages of menopause, because there really is a single day that you can celebrate. Just like there is a day when you know definitively when you got your period, there's a definitive day when you actually officially are in menopause. Most of us use that word menopause kind of broadly, but if 12 months to the last day that you got your period, that is the official day of menopause. That is the day you can celebrate, mark on your calendar, celebrate the anniversary of it if you really, want to. But that's the official day. And everything before that is considered perimenopause, and everything after that's considered postmenopause. But for all intents and purposes, we just tend to use the word menopause for everything. But I just wanted you to know that there really is an official day that you can celebrate. And, I just was curious out there as we're going through this, what stage all of you guys are in who are listening either now or on the replay. Are you in the perimenopausal stage? Has it been just a year or two since you stopped getting your periods, just kind of entered the postmenopausal? Or have you kind of been a trooper and you've been in that postmenopausal stage for a while? Let me know in the comments real quick. I'm just going to take a quick drink here. I'm looking at my COVID hair, my COVID bangs. I can barely see. I'm getting a cut tomorrow. All right. So we have coming of age rituals, right? For young girls in the Jewish religion, there's bat mitzvahs. The Japanese have a ceremony with special kimonos. There's the Sweet 16 parties, quinceañeras. There's lots of global rituals also around the world, right, to celebrate the women. There's like the wedding rituals, bridal showers, baby showers. We even have retirement parties. But it seems like this big, huge milestone in a woman's life is like swept, under like, the carpet, and nobody wants to talk about it. It's weird. It's like something to dread. It's like being old is something to, signal that you're just no longer worthwhile. And, in this society, especially, they celebrate youth, not aging. And so, we can redefine how to shift this paradigm, and we really need to do that because we as midlife women have to take the charge on that, right? The men aren't going to change that for us. The younger people don't really get it. We as women, if we want the society's views to change, we have to sort of change how we think about this time of our lives. Most of us have bought into this notion that menopause is just like this terrible thing that you're going to suffer through and you've just got to like survive it and so forth. But, if we can just somehow change that mindset in ourselves and then, put that out there into the world, then we can really change the perception of this word menopause. I was watching something the other day. Oh, what was it? Like Big Bang Theory or some, old rewrite of Bang Theory. But he literally like said something. He was accusing his girlfriend, they're in their 30s, but he was accusing her of being in, menopause. And he says, well, you're acting like an old crone, and it's just like, there it is one more time, menopause, old crone, that's what they make. So it's up to us to change that perception. And Dr. Mary Jane Minkin, a professor specializing in gynecological health at Yale Medical School, found that in societies where age is more revered and the older woman is the wiser and better woman, menopausal symptoms are significantly less bothersome, she said. Where older is not better, many women equate menopause with old age, and symptoms can be much more devastating. The same study finds that in countries where aging women weren't seen as a negative, like in Sweden or in Italy, the women there report fewer physical symptoms. The often negative physical state of menopause is paired with this odd absence of celebration, like new chapters and celebrating this new chapter in a woman's life. So you can see the mindset really plays a big part in how menopause manifests for you, right? So even if your mother had a terrible time and it seems like all of your friends are going through a terrible time, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to. I mean, maybe some things are genetic, some things are environmental hormones, or there are things going on. But if we can change our mind on that, and that can be one big piece of how we look at it, that could help, that's an easy thing that we can do. Beth, postmenopause. Yeah. So, it's definitely, there are definitely somewhat different things that women are experiencing, whether they're peri or they're post, but we're all going to kind of, work our way through this transition, and celebrating this time is, whether you've been through it 10 years ago or not, you can have a retroactive, Menopalooza. Why not? Right. Menopause rings that bell. It welcomes and it celebrates this beginning of a beautiful age of wisdom and grace. This can be an exciting transition. That is if you enter it with like the right perception and the right preparation. Now think about kind of your life. You lived this childhood full of growth and building. You kind of took in like all of the information from your environment as you kind of started to form your opinions and your way to move in this world. And then you transitioned in adulthood to this period of achievement, right? You had to kind of, provided this sense of accomplishment, that you were driven by this sense of accomplishment. Those are kind of the years we call it, kind of the years of ego, this intrinsic need to do, right? No matter what that doing consisted of, it's just kind of this need to be doing all the time. I know, at least for me, that's definitely what my adulthood has looked like. And now as you enter this third stage, this life-altering stage, the degree that I actually got, the certification that I got specifically to work with a midlife woman, was called the third age certification. So as you enter this third life-altering stage, this marks a period of letting go of that need to do all the time, this need to achieve, right? And it allows us time to reflect on where we've been, to the insight that we've gained, the wisdom that we have. But a lot of times it also evokes this need to kind of share out to the world and to our loved ones this wisdom that we have. What about for any of you? Do you feel that as you've gotten older, you've kind of, feel like you've got something you want to share with the world? One of my best, not only one of my best friends, my literal oldest friend, like, our mothers met when, they were pregnant with us. Like literally my oldest friend. She wrote me out of the blue yesterday, and she said, I have an idea for a title for a book for me. And she wrote me the name of the title. And, and I just loved that. Right. It was reflection. The book title was like kind of a reflection of her life and where it was and where it's going. And she was looking how she can share that with the world. And that's actually my second friend who shared her book idea with me. I guess once you become an author, people, want to share that with you. And I love it. So I'd love if any of you have any ideas like that, book ideas on you, or any other ideas you have that you want to share. I see somebody else saying hi. Unless you click on that link in the comments there, the streaming service that I use needs to accept your name for me to see, but I do say hello to you. Otherwise it just shows up as Facebook user for me. But Valerie and Beth, I see your name there. So thank you for joining me, ladies. I appreciate it. So do you sort of see those kind of marked periods in your life, that kind of time when, you were just kind of taking in information, that time of achievement? And are any of you noticing this kind of shift within yourself, this need to maybe slow down a little bit, reflect, and then give back? Are any of you in that stage? Just share with me. I'm curious. I can't personally imagine ever not being this drive to achieve. I mean, anybody who's known me, that's just who I am. It's this part of me. But I definitely don't have noticed a shift in me in terms of how I go about that. And I don't feel as attached to outcomes anymore. Kind of whatever is, I'm just doing the parts of my business that I love, and the money will flow as that happens. And it's just me being able to give back. And I know that that natural energy of life will happen. And so it's definitely a different way of going through life. So I hope that some of you, if you are in this stage and haven't taken some time to reflect, maybe do that. It's really, I think, important to do that. All right. I told you, I keep looking down at my notes. I'm like, I don't even know where I am. This topic, I love it. It's just, oh, I have some people in my life, women in my life, I just wish I could just like shake this information into. I'm on this is a total another digression, but I joined a whole bunch of women over 40 groups recently, just to kind of see what other groups were out there, what they were doing, see if there were any ideas I liked. And I got to tell you, the majority of, I don't know if you belong to other groups, but there's a lot of, excuse my language, but a lot of bitching and moaning that goes on. A lot of people just, You know, these groups that are called like 40s and fabulous are just like these women, and just one after another, not being so fabulous, not feeling so fabulous, not trying to make themselves feel any better. You know, definitely not the route that I want to go. And certainly my goal is to inspire all of us to embrace this time, even if it kind of sucks, right? You know, in terms of maybe we are going through physical stuff. I mean, I mean, right before I got on here, this hot flash just like whoosh took over me. I think I was supposed to be on it, try to get on a few minutes earlier, and I was just like, there is no way I'm getting on, right? But that's not going to stop me from getting, you know, from feeling like I have to something to share and to inspire. So we can experience negative, you know, well, not even negative, just uncomfortableness in our bodies and still be positive in our minds, if that makes sense. All right. So, all right, back to my notes here so I can keep us on track. So, you know, embracing the menopause in this next stage of life has inspired some modern American women to make up their own rituals, since there aren't really any rituals around that. One unit in the Unitarian Church, they have a ceremony they call croning/saging ritual, which reclaims the identity of the crone, right? I talked about just a second ago, they use that word in TV in a negative way. And historically, it's just been this unflattering term. So this celebrates the wisdom of being an elder woman. In many species, there's a preference for matriarchal societies. So when you actually turn to looking at elephants or whales, it's the elder females that lead. In the study cited by, I love like studies. I just love studies. In the study cited by Current Biology, they find that the elder females are storehouse of crucial knowledge and theorize that women develop menopause for the same reason as female orcas. When reproduction stops, women are then free to lead, which is ample cause for celebration, right? And why we probably should be electing a woman, right? In the United States, in my humble opinion, we were biologically born to lead as we head into these menopausal years. Wow, right? So where everybody else thinks we're starting to lose our mind, really, we're just getting sharper. We're just honing our skills, is what we're doing. Andrea Davies, an academic at Leicester, I'm pronouncing it Leicester University in the UK, started an initiative to make menopause a regular topic of conversation in the workplace with her male colleagues. She wanted to encourage men, I thought this is so interesting, to mention the word menopause several times a day as a female-friendly mantra designed to overcome their natural shyness. Quite honestly, I think women should also do the same thing. You just mentioned that word menopause. You bring it up and you'd be surprised like how many women get uncomfortable by it, how it kind of shuts down a conversation sometimes. You know, when I decided to tackle this conversation a few years ago, even within myself, I knew I was putting it out there, that my No Sweat It's Just Menopause book, right? And who was going to see it? You know, my high school boyfriends, and, you know, who else? My mother-in-law's friends, and gosh knows who else, you know. So these were some things within myself I even had to come to terms with. So I do get it, but I thought, you know, not even just men. And what she created, this Andrea Davies, in the workplace, were these menopause cafes she's created. And they're specifically really where coworkers can gather over cake to compare notes about their hot flashes, their vaginal dryness, their libidos, any kind of, you know, memory issues they're having, whatever it may be. And it's for men and women. It's for the women, obviously, to gather and get together primarily. But for any men who want to learn how to support the women in their lives, they're welcome to join too. So they're supposedly in the United Kingdom, there's about 14 or so of these that have popped up around there. So I don't know if I have any people from England watching, but have any of you heard of these menopause cafes before? What do you think about that? I love the concept of maybe women gathering in places and doing that. Kind of like this is the online version, I guess, of a menopause cafe, the Midlife Mojo page. But I love, of course, the idea of getting together in person. But what do you think about inviting men into the conversation? Do you think that's the appropriate way to do it? Do you think that's a way that would kind of start to evoke change a little bit? I'm just curious, So let me take a quick little drink here. Just give me your thoughts on that if you want to for a sec. All right. So let's talk about some reasons to celebrate, right? I'm totally understanding, by the way, because there was a topic about this on my that I posted something similar to this a couple of weeks ago, and there was a lot of different conversations on that post. And so I want to be clear that I realize not everybody goes into menopause naturally. Some of us, unfortunately, for medical reasons, go into menopause, and it's not by choice that we do that. But, you know, regardless of that, I do feel that there are still some silver linings that we can look at with this time. You know, unfortunately it is what it is, and if that happened to you and it wasn't your choice, and you know it affected your life, then I certainly, you know, empathize with you. And I know that's not the way that you may have wanted it, but I hope that you have also found a way to embrace that these years. And here are some reasons that are, for all of us, silver linings to the menopausal cloud. I don't know. I don't like to use the word cloud, but that was a nice little, like, you know, whatever the word is, metaphor. All right. So the first one is, well, I bet you can guess. Like, what would be like the number one, you know, reason to celebrate, cause to celebrate? It would be not getting your period anymore. So for those of us who have, you know, are going naturally into menopause, for a lot of us, we are excited to be done with tampons and periods and not knowing when we're going to bleed next, especially if you're in the perimenopausal stage. That's when a lot of heavy bleeding happens at unexpected times. Women sometimes bleed for a week or two, and it's so erratic, and they never know when it's going to hit. So, you know, for a lot of women, this is actually relieving. For a lot of women, this heavy bleeding has really changed up their lives. Maybe they can't even leave the house for a couple of days. So stopping getting their period has been a very freeing period for anybody. So was that the case for you with anybody? Were you really suffering with your periods, and having them stop has been a true blessing from just a physical, you know, standpoint at all? It kind of goes along with PMS. A lot of women suffer from, you know, PMS as well, right? That week or two before you would get your period can cause like a whole host of problems, physical and emotional, for women. Feel like they're just, you know, not themselves for a couple of weeks out of the month. You know, we get a lot of breast tenderness, headaches, things like that. So stopping of the period, stopping of the PMS are really reasons that can benefit us and be a reason to celebrate, for sure. I think they say that about at least 85% of women who menstruate do have PMS. So that's a lot of us out there who have been suffering for years and years, and menopause can end that. So that might be a good reason. If you are still struggling, though, I do want you to know that there is help. You know that I love sharing Young Living essential oils, and Young Living can help support your hormones when you're still menstruating, as well as when you've stopped menstruating. So look into things like Progestins Plus can help, or oils like Dragon Time. There's a couple of oils out there, other blends with clary sage in it that can be helpful as well. I always like to tell people, though, that if you use something with clary sage in it, it can make you more fertile. So if you are still getting your period, be mindful of that. All right. Because the next one is, when you are finally at that 1 year, 12 months past getting your last period, then you can have sex without pregnancy worries, right? How awesome is that? Now, for how many of you out there, how has that been like the biggest perk of maybe going into menopause? That just not having to worry about it, having to, you know, stop what you're doing and maybe get protection, or, you know, did something in the throes of the moment and hoping to God at 40 years old, maybe, that you didn't end up pregnant, or, or just throughout your life. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I had plenty of scares throughout my life when, you know, I didn't want to. So that certainly has been a very freeing part of our relationship, is knowing that that's kind of off the table. And sex is all about just feeling good and fun. So that's for sure. And reconnecting as well. So for sure, a definite bonus. And I'm actually, I'm coming out starting, I don't know, probably sometime in the next couple of weeks. By the end of this month, I'm hoping to release the first book in my Midlife Mojo series of ebooks that I'm going to be writing. And that's going to be all about kind of spicing up our sex life a little bit. So for us postmenopausal women, you know, where pregnancy is off the table, hopefully that book will even more be exciting for you guys. Now, hormonal headaches. Oh gosh, I was lucky. I never really had the hormonal headaches, but I know how debilitating. I have plenty of friends who experience this. My sister experienced these. Anybody struggle with these at all? You know, they say that women are affected by migraines 3 times more often than men, and about 70% of those women have menstrual migraines specifically, headaches that coincide with the ovulation and menstruation. And so as the levels of progesterone kind of go up and down during perimenopause, that can maybe seem to worsen. But then when those estrogen levels and progesterone levels drop as you enter the postmenopausal stage, full on, those headaches hopefully will go away. But if you're still having those headaches, you can also look into things like essential oils to support the tension that comes with this normal hormonal change. Oils like peppermint or M-grain are some great oils for that. And let's see, what else? All right. Oh, this is another interesting one, to celebrate. And I hadn't thought about this one when I was did my own list before I kind of was out there researching some other things to add to my list, was uterine fibroids shrink. Has anybody out there been experiencing uterine fibroids at all? Many women approaching their 50s develop fibroids, uterine tumors that are almost always benign. They grow when estrogen levels in the body are high, like when they're in demand, like in pregnancy. The levels of estrogen and progesterone increase. And then in perimenopause, as I mentioned, just the same kind of thing when they're swinging back and forth, how they can affect the headaches. They can affect the uterine fibroids and causing them to grow. So, and they can cause pain for some people as well. They can put pressure on the bladder. So for some women, as the estrogen depletes, the fibroids often shrink as well. So that's a nice benefit, right? A non-surgical benefit for sure. And then looking at some of the more emotional sides, we can take this chance this time of our lives once the period's over and we're starting to enter our 50s or 60s, even going into our 70s. If you haven't done this, it's a chance to kind of take stock. Have many of you guys heard of the American anthropologist Margaret Mead? Well, she wrote, and she called this time of our lives, I loved this term, called menopausal zest. Don't you love that? Like menopausal zest. I love that. It's kind of that rush of energy, both physical and psychological, that some women feel after menopause. This makes menopause like a natural time to take stock in our lives. Many decide to take a fresh look at their relationships, maybe their professions. They take a look at maybe caring for their own health, ways they want to expend their energy. So what have you as you've entered this stage of life, what are some things that you've kind of taken stock in? Is there anything that you've changed or that you've been thinking you want to change? I'd love to hear. I'd love to support you. Definitely, definitely. Right? And along with that, comes this greater confidence, this greater self-assurance. We take more risks, right? We have a lot less to lose. Maybe we're not so worried about what other people are going to think anymore. Our kids are grown. They're not at home. So, we have more opportunities to kind of just go out there and explore, right? It's not uncommon for postmenopausal women to feel empowered, partly because of these biological changes that are just kind of happening within us, right? We talked about the elephants and the orcas that lead, these biological changes that are kind of giving us this natural empowerment, but just this life change, after 50 plus years of life experience of child rearing, the ups and downs of relationships, careers, women, we're just more likely to go after what we want with just greater gusto and this greater sense of confidence, just kind of the sense that we can handle anything that comes our way. People used to say after menopause, you just had about a third of your life left, but times are definitely changing. And really it's about at 50, for a lot of us, maybe, who knows what modern medicine, we could be at the halfway point. I was thinking something the other day. I don't know, I heard Jimmy Carter, something, how old he was, and I think he's in his 90s or something. And I'm thinking from when he was president to how many years he hasn't been president. I think it's almost been more years he hasn't been president than he was, up until that point. Does that make sense what I'm saying? It's talking us a little bit, but you get what I'm saying. He lived a whole other life after being president of the United States, and you would think that was the height and the achievement of his life, but he's lived his whole other second half of life, and so can we. So I kind of, love this. So this is just a message I think midlife women are primed to hear. So if any of you are out there and you just are thinking that, this maybe I'm ready. I've been doing the same old thing for a while. I'm ready to try something new. This may be the time to do it. Be turning a hobby into a business. Maybe if you're newly single, trying some online dating or some other adventurous pursuit, maybe taking up something like mountain climbing or, I don't know, figure skating, something like that, right? If there's something you've been putting on hold, don't wait. Do not wait. today I attended my very first Zoom funeral for one of my other best friend from high school. I met her a little bit later, but in life I met her, in middle school and high school, and her father and I were also close. Our fathers coached our softball teams together growing up. And, I just was watching her and just thinking of all of our lives together. And, you just never know when life is going to cut you short. It was a year ago yesterday that my, good friend and my young living enroller, just over 40 years old, passed away from breast cancer. A year has passed. A year has passed. I just couldn't believe that, and so there's just no time for us to waste. If you've got something to do, let's do it, and let's celebrate. Do you feel more confident than you did in your 20s and 30s? Like, let me know. I mean, do you feel that this is more of time when you're coming into your own, maybe? And if you don't, that's okay too. That is totally okay. That's what I am hoping to teach, inspire, this group to support you in finding that confidence if you don't. Because we have a lot of great years ahead of us. All right. And part of that is caring for our physical health, right? So I think a lot of how we perceive ourselves, how we feel about ourselves comes from how we treat ourselves physically. Are we feeding ourselves good physical, foods? Are we, what are we doing in terms of, smoking, alcohol, drugs, things like that? Like, what are we putting into our bodies? Because what we put into our bodies affects our mental state, our emotional state in a big way. So it kind of, our thoughts affect our actions, our body affects our thoughts. It's just all of this is kind of one big, domino effect is what I feel. So, this is also a time for us to celebrate our bodies, a time for us to feel good about our bodies wherever it is and whatever stage. And if you're not feeling good, then maybe it's time to do something about it, once and for all, to take action. You guys know, intermittent fasting was the thing that did it for me. After, perimenopause, put on 20 pounds, intermittent started to take me down mentally with it. Intermittent fasting was the thing that physically and mentally changed, so much for me. And I'm happy to share that with you. I have my Melt the Midlife Middle book, you guys know. And right now, if you go to my website, I think I might have put up a link here. Let me see if I was good enough to do this. Let me see if I did this. I never know what I did here. Let me see. Nope, I didn't get to that part. That's all right. So if you just go to my website, let me get rid of this too. There we go. If you just go to my website, you can see it says Melt the Midlife Middle, and all the products that I have specifically for intermittent fasting are up there. So you can definitely check those out. Also, so the last thing that I think reasons for us to celebrate menopause, and I think we've gone through a nice long list of them already. So if you're not convinced that we need to be celebrating, one last thing is it's a time that we can really bond with other women, right? We have the time now. For years, we were running around and our lives revolved around our kids and work. And for a lot of us, maybe we're retired, we have more time for ourselves, and spending time talking, joking about our symptoms, but not dwelling on them, and doing some positive action can be really helpful. And knowing that we're just not alone. So definitely, please join, in on the conversation in these Melt the Midlife Middle Mondays, Midlife Mojo Mondays. Join in the conversation. I do a lot of the talking in this group, but I'd love more of you guys to just do your own posting of questions and comments and support. You guys are great about supporting each other in the comments and so forth. But just please, if you've got topics that you want to share or things to bring up, please do with everybody. And, and invite your friends to join with us as well. The more people we bring into this conversation, the more ripple effect we send out there, and the more things in this world change. And when we can change these, our daughters, our granddaughters are going to grow up, without this, dark cloud of menopause over them, without this, preconceived notions that women are less than, once they get to these older age, and they're going to embrace, themselves and embrace themselves as they age. So I think we got a lot of power in our hands right now. And I think the world is ripe for our message. There's a lot of activism going on out there, for people's, whose voices are not heard. And, whether it's women, whether it's racial, whether it's political, whatever it is, there's a lot of people out there feeling underserved. And, there's way, this is one way that we can serve, this population of women, is inviting women to this conversation. So I think that is it. I've been talking for 35 minutes. That's good. I really hope that you guys are feeling your midlife superpower. I hope that you are feeling inspired. I hope that you are ready to start planning your own little Menopalooza celebration. And I'm definitely, my wheels are turning of creating, if maybe it'll be an online Menopalooza before we do a live one, but I definitely want to have a live, Menopalooza retreat and invite everybody to it at some point here in Florida. So that is it for tonight. Again, next week I will be back for another Midlife Mojo Monday with a different topic. Look this week for this topic of girl power to kind of run through the different posts that we have on Friday. Every Friday, for those of you who are starting intermittent fasting, I do a live Zoom call at 11:30. So look for those posts on Friday. And that is it. This group is evolving as I learn, as I evolve, as I come up with new ideas, and I'm open to suggestions for everything. So please share, and all of you have a happy, healthy week, and I will see you online. Bye-bye.